Hey there, malcontents. We are live. We are in Kent, Washington at the Belang Justice Center. There was a short hearing for former Auburn police officer Jeff Nelson. Jeff Nelson has been charged with second-degree murder and first-degree assault for the May 31, 2019 interaction that he had with Jesse Saray outside of a grocery store. On May 31, 2019, Officer Nelson was responding to a call about Saray. When he arrived, Jesse was sitting, he was calm, he wasn't causing any issues chewing on ice cubes. Jeff Nelson, according to court officials and prosecutors, didn't de-escalate the situation, instead escalated the situation. Got into a brief struggle with Saray, punched him multiple times, and then fired three shots in less than 4 seconds. Two of those shots struck Saray. The middle shot, the number 2 shot, jammed. He cleared the jam, turned around, meaning Officer Jeff Nelson, turned around, looked at witnesses that were standing there, turned, and then shot Saray in the head. On August 24, 2020, Jeff Nelson was charged formally by King County prosecutors with second-degree murder and first-degree assault. Under Washington RCW, first-degree assault is the equivalent of attempted murder.
Family, where are you?
Today was the first court hearing, which was more procedural. We're not to trial. It was Christina D. was in the courtroom and was streaming the proceedings out here. She did a tremendous job. Nothing against Christina D. The audio was weak in the court, so it was very hard to hear. What we could glean out here was, and you can go to her stream, audio might be a little bit over there because literally was just holding my cell phone up to my ear so I could hear. The defense is arguing that because there are 35,000 pages of discovery documents and 1,000 audio video files that the state has compiled in their case against Officer Jeff Nelson, along with other details that have been provided by them, that they feel they do not have enough time for discovery to be ready for the presently booked October 23rd trial date. That was as much as we could glean out. There is another hearing that will be next month in mid-July. Press conference is getting ready to get started. The press is basically all out here. There's a string of people from the press to my right, and we will get started shortly. But that is where we're at right now, malcontents. That is the I guess that's the 3-minute summary.
Paul, impacted families are going to join us. Sonia, you want impact? Sonia, yeah? Impacted families up here.
And for those of you who are watching on the stream, there may be moments when you're like, why is he turning the camera that way or this way? And I wanted to see that. And if you see me moving, it is because I'm doing other activity that pays the bills.
Has a certain order of people that are going to speak, and we would invite the press to please stay for the entirety of it. It's not going to be that long, but that way you'll hear some powerful voices today. We're going to start with the Saray family. Then we're going to have a musical interlude by Poe. Then we have a state representative, Jesse Johnson from Federal Way, that will join us.
Fantastic.
Not yet. Well, I mean, you can start. And then we'll have our impacted families. We have AAPI guest speakers, a speaker from the Black Panther movement, and then our acknowledgement. So it's going to be, we're here to also celebrate all of our supporters. So I'm just going to wait and see if everyone's up here. Why don't you guys come in front so they can see you? They can't see you back there. I know it's going to be hot. You don't have to if you don't want to. Um, yeah, try to be, I don't know, it's so sunny.
If you're just tuning in, we're live.
we
We are
move
in
this back,
Kent
maybe?
at the Justice Center. This is a press conference that is going
Can someone help us move this
involving
back
the
so we can
hearing
be under the
for
shade?
former Auburn Police
Just,
Department officer Jeff Nelson
Or move it lower.
in the murder trial
Yeah,
of Jesse
move down so
Saray.
then we can be standing behind it. Sorry, you guys. I just don't want people to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I do what I can.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you there. I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
I just went to, I was not.
I know you. My bad.
I just went to rest my hand and I grabbed someone by accident. So I,
You didn't grab anything. You grabbed the side of my leg.
Beautiful, thank you. You guys are amazing. So if you guys want to pull in, at least be in the shade, and you can pull the chairs over. Some line.
A little bit more. And that's great.
we are broadcasting live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. If you're new to the channel, right before we get started, please like, follow, subscribe, and please share this stream so we can amplify
Okay.
the Black voices, the Indigenous, and the persons
If you
of
guys
color
wanna get in
voices,
the
and
shade, you're
particularly
welcome
the
to this
API
room
community, of which Jesse was a member
Good
of.
afternoon and welcome. My name is Elaine Simons and I am the foster mother of Jesse Saray. I am going to first call up and invite Kelly Saffron to talk, and she is a cousin of Jesse.
Hi everyone, my name is Kelly. I'm a cousin of Jesse's. I kind of want to just keep this short and sweet. I want to say thank you to everyone, for the community and the impacted families, especially for their love and support. We wouldn't be here without them, in all honesty. I do want to say we held a vigil this past Monday for Jesse, a balloon release, and something that really, really hit deep was something that Katrina said. She said she fights this fight so you don't have to. And she also says, she wakes up tired and broken every day, but she still pushes on because she wants to make sure there isn't another family. And if you think about it, it's really heartbreaking because there will be another family. There's gonna be another family that loses a cousin, a brother, a son, a mother, a sister. It's just really sad. And since 2018, there's been 107 names added to the list that the police have killed. Jeff Nelson added Jesse to that list, so he needs to be held accountable. Justice for Jesse.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm going to now invite up Mary Singh, the baby cousin of Jesse.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Mary Singh and I am Jesse Saray's little cousin, aka his baby. We grew up together along with all of our many other cousins. He was one of the most funniest, loving, and caring people that I knew. There was never a dull moment with him. On the day Jesse passed, I received an urgent phone call from my cousin saying we needed to meet at my mother's house. I had a bad feeling, but I was praying it wasn't another family death. Our family has been through so much hurt and pain from losing our loved ones. As soon as we gathered, Stephen broke out the bad news and it was just silence and tears. We couldn't believe it. There were so many other options to de-escalate the situation, but, I lost my point. But they had to take his life. For what? He was my cousin, a brother, a son, and a nephew. He was going through some stuff, but honestly, who doesn't? No one ever deserves to get killed, especially for a mental health crisis. Everyone has their demons and dark days. Jesse will never receive the opportunity for redemption. He'll never get the chance to have his own family, to dance, or to watch all the new anime shows I know that he would love. It angers me that the people who are supposed to be protecting us are the ones killing us. Not only do we want justice for our family, but for everyone else going through a similar situation. It's a different type of grievance to know that you'll never see that person again because of an altercation with a cowardly cop. We stand together and will continue to fight for what we believe in. Thank you for your time and support. It means a lot to our family.
Thank you. All right, the Saray family's rocking it. We've now got Kanisha Saray, another cousin of Jesse.
Hi, my name is Kanisha Saray. I'm one of Jesse's older cousins. I feared that one day I would have to speak publicly on behalf of my. I feared that one day I would have to speak. Okay.
Take your time.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I have stage fright. Okay. If you don't understand grief, please feel fortunate that you don't have to. What happened to my cousin was heinous and barbaric to say the least. My grandparents, mother, and uncles did not flee Cambodia from the genocide to live in this modern day genocide. Where police officers are killing us. Let's go to America, they said. We'll have a better life. Little did they know we're still going through the same war we did back then. My grandparents never would have thought they'd see the day that they would have to meet their grandson at the heaven's gates. Officer Jeff Nelson, I hope karma catches up to you. Thank you everyone for your support and time.
Okay, I'm going to speak with the impacted families today because that is my also extended family. So I'm going to invite up State Representative Jesse Johnson from Federal Way to please join us.
Being a young man of color should not be a death sentence. Suffering from mental health should not be a death sentence. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time, encountering the wrong officer should not be a death sentence. And yet here we are today. I never had the opportunity to meet Jesse, but from what I've heard, he is an amazing young man with a lot left of life. And he was taken from us. Taken by an officer who had killed a year prior in my hometown of Federal Way, and then jumped jurisdictions to serve in the city of Kent. That should not happen. That is unacceptable in Washington State. And justice would mean that Jesse is still here with us today. But we will make sure that accountability comes to the life of Jesse Saray because he deserves it, his family deserves it, and people of color in this state deserve it. Far too often, our police do not take into consideration someone simply suffering from a mental health crisis. And when they try to detain them, they resort to deadly force. We will not allow that anymore. And our families, the families here today, you will get accountability because we are here. Justice is just us coming together to transform the system, and that's what we're doing. And justice will not only be served for Jesse's life, but for future's lives, because that officer should not be in the streets. Our police officers must, absolutely must, protect and preserve human life. It's not just a bad apple problem, it's a rotten tree problem, and we will fix it. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to have a musical interlude by Paul Lepai. He had written a song called Say Their Names, and in Polynesian style, rock it.
Jesse was part of the API community.
Like you said, I'm Paul Lepai. I'm cousin to Yosia Faletongo, murdered by SPD 2018, December 31st. A really close friend of mine named J-Mo the Bird, also known as Jordan. He's a family to Enosa E.J. Strickland. And J-Mo and I created this song called Say Their Names. I'm just gonna play it for you now. Thank you so much. Jesse Saray, say his name.
Will we ever see a day where we ain't gotta say names? Will we ever see that day? It's a shame to let it lay like our loved ones died in vain. Will we ever see that day? Will we ever see a day where we ain't gotta say names? Will we ever see that day? It's a shame to let it lay like our loved ones died in vain. Will we ever see that day?
Can't be the one that just walks away. Watch a police take another life today. Leaving loved ones torn, nothing left to say. Candles burning, all we do is pray. Yeah, God is with us. See, they've been holding us down. We've been fighting for the longest time. Been trying to get away, live up this life of mine. But they've been taking up my sweet ass time. No lie, I wanna revive the ones that died. The ones that were blamed for the shit and locked aside. Till their last breath, think about death to life. What's the next step? Heaven to hell, it ain't right. Why they gotta go? Steady be the flow. Welcome to the show. Many money more. How I really go. Killers on the road. Took another soul. Shot them on the road. Murder in the home. Never moving on. We got families crying, police be shooting on sight, people dying. Don't know why they always gotta be lying. Gotta keep shouting their name to the light.
Will we ever see a day where we ain't gotta say names? Will we ever see that day? It's a shame to let it lay like our loved ones died in vain. Will we ever see that day? Will we ever see a day where we ain't gotta say names? Will we ever see that day? It's a shame to let it lay like our loved ones died in vain. Will we ever see that day? I couldn't believe the news. How they take another ooze. Said we're tired of this abuse. See, there's no end to it, no end in sight. Till the names don't seem to matter. All the wrongs are all made right. Keep their name lit, feet to the pavement. All day, every day, can't be complacent. Keep their name lit, feet to the pavement. All day, every day, can't be complacent. No.
Say their names, but no one wants to hear you. Scream until they feel you. No, this ain't no game. Say their names. Too many of us dying, losing life in silence before we turn to play. Say their names, but no one wants to hear you. Scream until they feel you. No, this ain't no game. Say their names. Too many of us dying, losing life in silence before we turn to play.
Will we ever see a day where we ain't gotta say names? Will we ever see that day? Yeah. It's a shame to let it lay like our loved ones died in vain. Will we ever see that day? Yeah. Thank you all for the time, y'all. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. We're going to move into the impacted families segment. Up here on the steps here, even though it's not inclusive of all the names, these are at least 30 names of people that have died at the hands of police impacted violence in the state of Washington. Afterwards, I asked for you to take a look at them. And the people that did the memorial, can you raise your hand so we could give you a shout out? Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Elaine Simons. Today is one of many court days ahead for the Saray family. It was important for us to show up today, as when it first broke out, it has been continued almost 5 times. So our family decided we needed to come back out into the community and let you know what the next steps are for the murder trial of State versus Nelson. As you know, Jesse Saray was murdered by Officer Jess Nelson of Auburn Police Department on May 31st, 2019. Jesse came to live with me when he was 11 years old. His younger brother Terrell lived with me for 9 years until he aged out of the foster care system. Jesse was having a mental health crisis in Auburn, Washington, and the police were called to de-escalate the situation. At no time was a mental health response team called to check in on Jesse. Within 37 seconds of contact, while Jesse was chewing on ice and sitting down next to an ice machine, my foster son was murdered, yet another unarmed person of color. Jesse murdered Jesse, who was not only my foster son, but was a human being who did not deserve to be murdered in this way. No human being should die in this manner. We have all gathered here today to show our unity and support for all impacted families of police-sanctioned violence and show support for the cause of eradicating and exposing the wrongful practices and civil crimes administered by law enforcement, mostly targeting people of color throughout our country. We must continue to fight not just for Jesse, but for every person of color whose neck is under the racist knee of a system which has predicated on violence against black, brown, and native bodies since American government has been established. I was devastated with the personal loss of my foster son, Jesse, and the loss of Carrie's son, but anger that so many people are being killed in this horrible manner. I am relentlessly on a mission to do right by him. With his Khmer family and supporters by my side, we got a killer cop arrested and charged with second-degree murder and first-degree assault. Activists took down Nelson's GoFundMe page. Whew. No, our mission is to get him decertified so that he can never be a police officer again, and to get him convicted and put in prison. With the passing of SB 5051, supported by Senator Peterson and other sponsors, we now have an act to hold police to accountability. It is imperative to ensure oversight and accountability of police officers and correction officers. In the case of dangerous police officers like Jeff Nelson, who is responsible for 3 deaths, including Brian Scammon and Isaiah Obit in Auburn, Washington. Say their name, Brian Scammon.
Brian Scammon.
Say his name, Isaiah Obit.
Isaiah Obit.
And numerous incidents of force and violence, this officer's certification should have been revoked for his pattern of behavior. And our hope is that if measures like this were in place, Jesse would be alive today. Our family stands in solidarity with the Manuel Ellis family, who just recently, under I-940, police officers responsible in the death of Manny were arrested and charged for his murder. Say his name. Say his name, Manny Ellis.
Manny Ellis.
This is new territory for Washington to have 2 murder trials of police officers under this I-940. There are hundreds of families in Washington waiting for a semblance of justice, and this fight is for them as well. To this day, we have not had a formal apology from the Auburn mayor or from the chief of police or the city council. I should be consumed by hate. I should use my outrage to seek justice. I will not be complicit any longer. I have been working tirelessly on the front lines, telling Jesse's story, so he would just not become another BIPOC young person murdered by the racist police system that exists in America today. With the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability and other impacted families, we have worked to put forth bills for statewide change. My son died for this cause. It is our moral obligation to hold police accountable for their erroneous behavior, to ensure good officers can continue doing their public service. We need their protection, not their violence. There is a long murder trial ahead for justice for Jesse and his family. I work and hope for healing to take place. To change the narrative, we all need to come together for justice, Families on the front lines need your support. Now is the time to join this fight with impacted families and follow our lead. To all the friends and supporters across the nation I have met on this journey, I personally want to thank you for being with me and the Saray family as we seek justice not only for Jesse, but for so many who have died and will die if we don't take action. Thank you. I'm going to call up some impacted families, and then we're going to move on to our AAPI guest. May I please have the family, Glenn or Thomas, please. I don't know.
Good afternoon. My name is Annalisa Thomas. My husband and I lost our son, Leonard, in 2013. He was unarmed, standing on his porch, holding his 4-year-old son in his arms. What I want you to understand is we took this to a civil trial and we won. And 3 officers were found punitively liable in the death of our son, and all of them still have their badges and jobs. 2 of them have been promoted, one to a chief of police and the other to a critical incident trainer. The second, Mr. Wiley, killed yet another person on May 1st, 2019, Said Joaquin. So if you just take the deaths from 2013 to present, what is that number? And all along the way, we have been promised by police, we are changing, we are doing better, we aren't who we used to be, but they are. So I task all of us, though we have passed monumentous legislation, I task all of us to watch carefully and follow to see that the police forces are implementing these changes and are following these rules, because my grandson, we are now raising, who's Leonard's son, is 13. I don't want to be sitting in front of you at any point because we did not watch carefully. I cannot lose another family member to police violence. Good policing must prevail. Bad policing must stop.
My name is Sonia Joseph, and my son Giovanni Joseph McDade was murdered here in this city June 24th, 2017. I really want to thank all the folks that put in hundreds and hundreds of hours for the past 5 years working on Initiative 940 and now working on the new police reform bills. And we wouldn't be here today with 2 officers charged with second-degree murder had it not been for all the folks and the volunteers that worked hard for legislation to make these changes happen. And I urge all of you to be part of the implementation process, and please be the community oversight that we need to make sure that these bills actually flourish into what we created them for. Thank you.
I do want to acknowledge there's water here. I know you guys are all sweltering out there. Please refresh. I want to, did you want to speak or did you want,
Those of you on the stream, if you're like, why is the camera moving all over? It's because I'm paying the bills.
Good afternoon.
Having to do multiple things at the same
First,
time.
giving all glory to the Creator, holding high reverence for the peoples and the land of which we walk. I stand here today looking out at a small crowd compared to the last time we were here. What these people are good at is waiting us out.
Yeah.
Letting
Truth.
us move on to the next big thing.
Truth.
So the next big thing right now is Mr. Nelson.
Truth.
We're looking for a first. We're looking for an officer to actually be held accountable. But I'm sorry, I may not be a pessimist, but I don't believe it. Because I go by what I have seen over the last 30 years of how they make laws to make sure that they never are being held accountable. Well, since the passage of I-940, which 60% of every precinct across this state ignored or chipped away and did so little that it did not have the impact it was supposed to. That we had to go back to the legislature in 1920 and bring out new laws with teeth. The problem with that is, one, they're working on the media to keep them looking somewhere else because they don't want the media watching them. And two, it calls for public oversight. The reason they get away with what they get away with is we all get on to the next thing and we don't watch how they go back to business as usual. And if you sat in that courtroom today, you will hear the exact same thing that they pulled in 2017 when they tried to get the police out for killing our son. It's the same rhetoric. They're good at it. Except for now, Washingtonians have the opportunity to watch. I'm calling on the media to keep your eyes open. I'm calling on the citizens of this state to get involved. There are commissions, there are boards, there are oversight committees that you are being asked to be on, and if we, the people who are being hurt, don't get on it, those, the people who are hurting us, are going to be on it. Right now, the only people holding police accountability are 13 officers, sergeant and above, and one community member who is married to police, to law enforcement. Granted, starting in June, I believe, we will have Tim Rainin, a representative from the Puyallup tribe, and we will have another gentleman from Spokane, Curtis Johnson. His first name is Curtis. I keep forgetting his last name. And I have actually put my name in to take that one civilian place, which is up this month. But 5 more positions are coming up. We need real people, not ex-law enforcement, to fill those spots. There's 4 positions coming up on an oversight board. We need real people out there.
Where do we go?
Next Steps Washington is going to start having those when and where to apply on our website. And we've taken this about a month off. We're getting cranked up again tonight. I have cards, but it's easy. Next Steps Washington. 9:40, open the door. Now we need Washington citizens to step through that door. Because if we don't, it's just business as usual. No one's going to be watching, and they're going to kill somebody else, and they're going to do, oh, I feared for my life. I ran him down, I shot him in the back, but I feared for my life. And he gets up. Oh, well, I thought he had a gun. It was a cell phone. And he gets up. Why? Because we all move on to the next thing. Let's not let Jesse's life be in vain, nor my son, nor Manny Ellis, nor any of the 107 people who died since 17. I was looking at a list of 413, was it? If you actually look at the numbers, it's amazing.
It's a pandemic.
No, because you have a chance to survive a pandemic. What are your chances of surviving an officer who wants to kill somebody?
Thank you very much, Fred. I'm going to bring Paul up real quick, and then we got to move on with the agenda. Thank you.
It's streaming on our page, but if somebody were to grab it from our page, they
Hi, I'm going to keep it short because I had some time earlier. Again, I am Pole Pai, cousin to Yosia Faletongo, who was shot and killed in the back of the head, unarmed, on December 31st, 2018. He was the second murder post I-940, and since then, there have been well over 100 murders since then. I'm here, I stand in full solidarity with the Saray family. I'm also here representing the Polynesian community and the Pacific Island community. If you don't know, when API and AAPI was coined, it was for a reason. Our communities are very similar, very close. You know, so I stand in solidarity and representation on behalf of the Polynesian community, Samoan community, the Pacific Island community, as we fight this trial. We take this to the end where we want it, where we get him locked up. Thank you so much. Say his name, Jesse Saray. Say his name. Jesse Saray. God bless. Thank you.
All right, that brings us into our esteemed AAPI guest speakers. Our first speaker is going to be Han Tron, and then we're going to ask someone to read a statement from another supporter. Please welcome Han.
Han is running for city council.
Hi, my name is Han Tran. The family asked me to speak today from the AAPI perspective. The Saray family are strong. The Saray friends, community, and family are strong, but they shouldn't have to be this resilient. No one should have to carry this burden. Accountability is the bare minimum. The bare minimum. Jesse was a person, period. That should be enough to want to empathize with him and his family. That should be enough to humanize him, to treat him with dignity. It is so commonplace to look at Black and brown and indigenous victims of police violence and blame the victim for not getting the help they need, or blame the family for not doing enough. Dehumanization and looking at someone's background to justify their death is right out of the colonial imperialistic playbook. No empathy. Victim blaming. A country that based its success on the genocide of indigenous folks, this comes to no surprise. No looking at root cause, because you would see a rotted tree, just as Representative Jesse Johnson said, you would see a rotted tree from the root to the core to the fruit it bears. Bad apples is not the problem. It is the system of policing that is built on bias, dehumanization, no empathy, and the warrior mentality. We don't need warriors in our community.
We are the warriors ourselves.
That's right, we are the warriors ourselves. Better yet, we need guardians. We need to be guardians. We don't need people who will shoot to kill us first. We need systems that support people like Jesse and his family and all the impacted families. I'm from Bothell, Washington. And Juan Rene Hummel Jr., who's one of the photos here right next to Jesse, was a young Hispanic man who was shot within seconds of his encounter with the Bothell police. That police officer is back on duty since January, and the case is still open. Say his name! Say his name, Juan Rene Hummel. Neither Juan Rene or Jesse were treated like they mattered. They would have been better served by guardians. They would have been better served with community care programs that would help them stabilize their lives so they can be empowered to live with dignity. To prevent encounters like this from happening, we need to lessen the contact between the public and the police. Jesse's murder is nuanced. Asian and Pacific Islanders are perpetual foreigners, meaning whenever the U.S. has issues with an Asian country, we are the immediate targets of hate. We are seeing this play out now with COVID-19. We see it worsen with every deportation of someone from the API community. We saw this with the aftermath of 9/11 and the sick and out of community being the targets of violence and hate. When a teenager is asked if they want to change their name so they won't be called a terrorist, do you know what that does to someone's mental health and eventually their physical health? Do you know what it's like to grow up without your parents because they were victims of racial violence? The Black and brown and indigenous communities know what that's like. Walk a mile in our shoes. Walk a mile in these families' shoes. The solution to hate and the police violence is the same. Invest in the community. We need to make sure there are proper support systems for community members who need mental health services, drug substance abuse recovery, a house, a job, clean air, clean water, healthy food, an alternative response to police. We need to care more about others and put our most marginalized community members first. Only then can we be free. Only then will we have justice, when the Jesse Surays and the Juan Rene Hummel Jr.'s of the world are alive and thriving. Thank you.
I'm going to invite up my biggest supporter. He's been along on this journey for a long time. I'm going to invite Jeff to join us up here, and he's going to read a statement from somebody who just launched a campaign for us.
Thank you. This is from Nisa's son of the Forced Trajectory Project, who is working, as Elaine said, to organize a national campaign to join what we're doing here in Washington to win justice for Jesse. And she asked to say, I joined the Justice for Jesse Suray campaign because Jesse's life mattered. He was so vulnerable in so many ways, and he needed protection, not to be constantly barraged with state marginalization and violence. Jesse was Khmer American. Like so many other Asian Pacific Islander communities, the Khmer American experience is one steeped in perpetual war and colonization, intergenerational trauma, and cultural erasure. I advocate for Jesse because I don't want to see any more API and non-API families hurting because of senseless state violence. Justice for Jesse Suray and all lives stolen by law enforcement. Nisa's son, Forced Trajectory Project.
Thank you. I'm going to call up, well, first, before I call up our next speaker, who was the person who was going to do the 4 fingers for the petition? Come on up. We're going to do our little interactive thing. So I want to invite up Victoria.
All right, guys. Well, first, before we do anything else, please one more round for the families that are up here. As we talked about, the families are here so that we all don't have to be up here. So there's a few things, 4 things that we're gonna do to support Jesse right now. We're actually gonna call 5. So everybody take out your phone and go to change.org and look up Jessie Saray. So that's one thing. And then the last 4 things that we're gonna do is send it to 4 of your friends. Put your 4 fingers up and send it. Every time you send one, go down. You got 4, send it to 3, send it to 2, send it to 1 more. One more thing, go back and ask all those friends to share it too. Let's get that support out there for the family. Please, please, please.
Thank you. I'm going to invite up Whitney Rainwater from the Black Panther Party. And if her colleague wants to stand by her, you're welcome to.
Hi, I'm Whitney Rainwater. I am a Black Panther of Washington, and next to me is Adam, the White Panther of Washington. We stand together, and we come together for the community. What I see is murderers running around in cop uniforms. There's no other way to put it. They're not cops. I don't know why people call them cops. They're murderers. And they're murdering families. They're taking away lives. And it's not okay. And for people to sit back and not step up, you're not helping. And for the cops that are standing by and hiding them, you're not helping. These families need healing. They need answers. And in order for them to find that, we have to stand together. Because you never want an Officer Nelson called to help your family members. And if you do, then I'm sorry, then you're no help or assistance to us. We are here so that families like this don't have to do this anymore. I've never expected to be up here, standing here watching these families mourn. But I'm willing to stand here and fight with them because I don't want to see this anymore. And I feel like everybody should look at in their hearts and not want this anymore. Everybody has a family member that's going through crises. Every member has a family member who might need a little bit more love, not to be shot. That's not the answer. So we are here and we will continue to be here with you guys every step of the way. That is all.
Thank you. Before I move to the last part of this, I wanted to give a chance for people to shout out names. We can't shout out every name. We've got many here. I'm going to start off with a couple names that I want to shout out. Say her name, Charlena Lyles. Say his name, Enosa E.J. Strickland. Say his name, Cecile Lacey. Okay. Say his name, Cecile Lacey Jr. Anyone else want to shout out names? Because if I keep saying names, I'm going to leave someone out, and I don't want to leave someone out. So anyone else want to shout out a name?
Say his name. Say it, Joe Quinn.
Say his name, Saeed Woking.
Giovanni Joseph McDay.
Giovanni Joseph McDay. Leonard Thomas.
Renee Davis.
Renee Davis.
Joel Nelson.
Shay Taylor.
Renee Davis. Demarius Butts. Miles Murphy. DeChance Dunlap Giddens. Ryan Matthew Smith. Joe Nelson. Tommy Lay. Daniel Coravavius. Andrea Thomas Tuna. Kevin Peterson. Joshua Paul Spotted Horse. Catherine Renee Hell. Herbert Hightower Jr. Bill Langfit. Jacqueline Sailors. Oscar Perez Guron. Benny Branch. Sean Furr. Carlos Hunter. John T. Williams. Thank you for this beautiful tribute. And like I said, we're not leaving out names, but we would fill this entire lawn of over hundreds of Washingtoners that have been killed by police. Any other names?
Don't tell Chief Stick.
Don't tell Chief Stick.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us this point to arrive at.
Thank you. I think you're done. Woo!
Malcontents, I've got to run
We
back
are
to the
not
studio.
done.
Well, wait a minute.
This is only the beginning. The door is just opening. Don't turn your backs now. Stand up, Washington.
Stand in solidarity with us. Thank you. If any media wants to do interviews, I know impacted families and Saray families. If you ask, we're going to sit in the shade though.
Malcontents, I have to run back to the studio because we have our show tonight. I have 4 o'clock meeting. My phone's blown up with a couple of things. So I'm going to end the stream here. Going to just get try to get a quick offline statement to confirm what we heard was correct at the start of the stream. Thank you everybody for your support. We will see you tonight at happy hour at 8 o'clock.